Well, let's get into the quarterbacks. So Elks is in here and want to talk about Payton Thorne. So Auburn made their pick or their selection of who they're going to start week 1 at quarterback. Hugh Freeze says it was Payton Thorne. Freeze also said in a quote that, and I'm just quoting here, Robby Ashford is probably the freakiest athlete that I've ever had at the position. It would not surprise me if he sees playing time starting week 1. Surprised about Payton Thorne or not? And are you surprised that he still said that Robby Ashford will get significant playing time after making the announcement?
So I'm surprised, but not for like the reason you would expect. I'm surprised because of what you just said there. There was such high praise from the Auburn coaching staff for Robby Ashford as an athlete, as a playmaker, for the impact that he can provide for that offense. And it just seemed like everything was trending in that direction, that maybe they have some trouble at offensive line. Maybe they don't have as many playmakers as they would hope. So they're going to rely on the more athletic guy. But we said this when they went after Payton Thorne. They clearly were going after a certain type of quarterback, a veteran, experienced, more consistently accurate player that's less athlete, more, quick throw, West Coast style player. And
right,
it makes sense. He is going to be more steady. Is he going to rip off a highly impactful run? Is he going to scramble and throw out of pressure and make a crazy completion? No, he's not going to do that. But is he going to keep the offense on schedule enough that they're moving the football consistently? Yes. I'm not surprised because I think he makes the most sense for their situation. For them to win 6-7 games in 2023, a more steady player is best for them.
I completely agree. I think experience plays a massive factor in here. I think that Robby Ashford, it would seem, is not completely there in the passing game, and Hugh kind of mentioned that. I was just under the thought process that, and I still think he's going to play. I still think, and that's not me. I mean, I'm just listening to what Hugh Freeze has to say. I still think he plays week 1. I still think that he gets some reps. I still think that they have a couple package plays for him. The thing is that when you are moving into the SEC, we've seen, or really just any big Power 5 conference, we've seen coaches that don't have a quarterback that they want experience at that position unless you have a transcendent dude that you're bringing with you, aka USC. We saw Urban at times wanting to go to a more veteran style of quarterback. We saw JT Barrett play more than he probably should. He had a lot more younger talent underneath him. But we just see coaches do this all the time, not playing the guy that maybe is more talented but has the more experience. You could obviously make that argument at Penn State the last couple of years. Will Levis goes to Kentucky, and obviously they had Drew Aller that was behind your boy there last year. I don't think that this is a massive surprise. I don't think that Hugh pulled a rabbit out of the hat here, but I do think that it makes them a little bit more dangerous in the sense of that, hey, man, you can't just, stack the box and try to stop the run against them. You're going to have to compete against them through the air. So Payton Thorne, not that big of a deal, but I did think it was highly interesting that Hugh Freeze did say that Robby Ashford is the most athletic dude that he's ever had at that position, especially when he had your boy at Liberty that got drafted from by the Titans.
He was a freak.
And he was a freak. So
yeah,
I do think that that's some pretty high praise for Robby Ashford.
Well, so here's one thing that kind of comes to mind, though. The outcome is not unexpected for everything that we just talked about there. But, like, where do you stand on the timing of this? Because we've got 2 weeks for them until they play their first game, and you're a week away from your first game week. And this was announced at the end of last week. Is that surprising? Like, for you? I feel like that seems a bit sudden in a way where they'd seen enough. I would have thought that this maybe would have been dragged out a little bit further. I think that's a little concerning for the development of Ashford, which we already kind of knew this. Like, the guy's inconsistently inaccurate and he relies on his legs too much.
Well, I do think that there's some philosophy in that, right? Meaning, like, look, we have 2 weeks. Okay, we need Robby to not split time with Payton Thorne with the ones. It probably goes 70, 30, 80, 20 to get Payton Thorne up to speed. And it's just a way to get out in front of them, of Robby Ashford not running with the ones as much as he had been in camp. I don't mind the timing because in literally next, we're going to talk about Alabama. We're going to stay in state, and you're going to probably say, well, they should have a decision by now. So if one is goose, if one is good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Okay, it can't be that we look at Auburn and say, well, the timing's off. Okay, and then look at Alabama and say, well, they should have had their quarterback by now, right? So I think that there's just processes to this. I mean, just seeing coaches in the past, it just all depends. And quite frankly, Payton Thorne may have just won the job and everybody knows it.